So how do we manage AI bias and ethical compliance? So some of the sources of bias, I think the first two speakers spoke about them, so I will not belabor that very much. But again, it will say the algorithms that are trained on Western logistics data. And also we have historical data bias. If past procurement favored urban centers over rural ones, they favored one region to the other, then that inequality persists. And again, this is where part of the mitigation strategy is involving ourselves. We as the procurement persons, we need to be able to build that capacity to be able to involve ourselves in that human loop. Yeah, we need to involve ourselves in that human loop so that we feed into the AI algorithm. One of the things that I've been doing in the past 3 or 4 years together with World Bank and CDB is be able to feed into the Caribbean algorithm the uniqueness and the uniqueness and the contextual procurement and procurement needs and procurement data of the region so that we are able to develop an AI algorithm that understands what the Caribbean is doing. The other thing that I did, I think, with AU was also to try and contextualize some of the data to be able to read what is unique in Africa. So I want to belabor that again and say that procurement experts, we need to upskill in terms of AI so that we can teach these models, we can input into the models so that they can be able to give us the results that we want. The next one. So ethical sourcing in agriculture. I wanted to just use this and say, just to bring across the point on how AI can be able to help us with ethical sourcing. And again, I know that as procurement professionals, when it comes to some of these areas of specialization, agriculture and health, we normally do default to the persons who have studied agriculture and health. But again, this conversation around AI brings to the fore the need for us to be able to adapt, to be adaptable, to be able to scale up, and to be able to think beyond our comfort zone, which is just buying and making decisions around procurement, but to be able to understand how the other areas that we do support as procurement operate. So for this slide, it wasn't more of explaining the EU Green Deals, but it was more about highlighting to the procurement professions that yes, there are AI programs that are also working into traceability. So as you procure, you need to be aware that at some point you may be called upon, or there may be need for you to be able to trace back what you procured from the manufacturer, and make sure that you are able to articulate to the manufacturer why the manufacturer needs to be able to trace their raw materials down up to the farmer or to the person who they sourced the raw materials from. So this is just for us to be able to understand how those biases occur, because when you're seated, for example, in Nairobi, you may feed an algorithm into AI that provides traceability, a city context traceability, forgetting that whatever you bought, for example, if it's a box of milk, you forget that what you bought, the box of milk you bought came from a farmer right outside the city. So that's where ethical sourcing, AI, and procurement combine and collide. So as professionals, we need to be aware of the biases and the ethical compliance that we need. So my final question to all the participants, is your data pipeline clean enough to be trusted? And is your team empowered enough to say no to a biased algorithm? I'm hoping that you can answer, you can go and review, have a conversation with the organization, have a conversation as a region, have a conversation as a body of procurement so that we can be able to answer we can be able to look at our data pipeline. We must be very active in giving AI the data that it needs so that we all feed into AI. IT professionals have used AI very well, and they have fed AI into, they have fed the information that they want into AI for them to be able to develop a website. Right now, I'm not an IT person, but I'm able to go into AI, into the bots, and be able to develop a website. That does not make me an IT profession, but it just tells me that the IT persons have really worked to make sure that AI speaks to their profession and speaks to them. So what I'm saying again is we absolutely need to build an African-centric AI. However, the goal is not to build a perfect AI because we will never build a perfect AI. Situation changes, emergencies happen, context change. So we need to be able to build a governed AI where we are able to, it's ethical and it's able to respond to our needs. Then success in the African supply chain will depend on our ability to clean our data pipelines and upskill our workforce to act as the ultimate ethical filter. Again, I repeat, as procurement persons, we will have to upskill our workforce, we will have to upskill ourselves so that we are able to work and thrive within this AI generation.